Governor, how are you?
How are you? You want to hear the state of the state again?
One more time.
Oh, I thought it got better over time.
Governor, you talked about the regional economic councils. Can you explain a little bit about how they're going to work?
I spent 8 years in Washington as the Assistant Secretary of Housing and Urban Development first, and then the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development during the Clinton administration, and it worked primarily on economic development. One rule is there is no top-down economic development strategy. These are bottom-up economic development strategies, the ones that work. And you have to work with a local region, determine those assets, come up with a plan that works for that region. And that's what we're going to be doing in this approach.
Governor, yesterday Mayor Bloomberg in his State of the City outlined a few things that he needed the state to do that dovetail pretty closely with your own agenda. I was wondering what you thought of those proposals and whether he had your support on them.
We're going to do everything that we can to work with the city, Brendan. We've talked to the mayor about a few of the proposals, the general areas, pension reform. You know, I don't think there's a person in the state who doesn't understand that we have to reform pensions. We talked about it in my State of the State. We saw it again today, the exploding cost of pensions. So we're going to do everything we can to partner with the mayor. We have the specifics of the proposals, obviously, is something that we're going to have to work on.
Governor, we heard that there will be 10,000 layoffs coming. Can you comment on that?
We're going to do the state budget in the next couple of weeks, and when we have a final proposal, we'll put it out. I don't think there's going to be any surprise to anyone that the state's financial condition is dire. You have the economic decline, national economic decline, on top of a state that just has been spending too much money for too long. And those two facts are now compounding. And the chickens are coming home to roost. So it is the state is in really dire financial shape, and we're going to have to make corrections. We shouldn't have been doing this for years, by the way. We've been spending too much money for years. But it has to stop now. And there is going to be, no doubt, a period of short-term pain as we make these adjustments. I believe it's for a period of long-term gain, but that's what we're going to go through. Also, when you talk about layoffs, you have to remember that every time you talk about a layoff, you're talking about a family, you're talking about a person's job, you're talking about a person's life. So this is a very difficult situation all around. But when we have the budget done, you'll know exactly what we're talking about, and we'll put out the numbers then.
One more, guys. Do you blame the legislator for the dire state that the state is in? Do you blame the legislator?
I don't blame anyone. I don't blame. I'm not big into blame. I'm sort of into how do we fix it, how do we move forward. But there's also plenty of blame to go around. I mean, you know, look at the spending rates that that I just showed inside on those charts. Medicaid spending almost double the rate of inflation. Spending on education almost double the rate of inflation. And what actually makes it worse, we weren't even getting performance. You know, I could see if we were spending a lot of money, but we were getting great performance. We were spending a lot of money, and we were getting poor performance. But in any event, these things have to be corrected. They shouldn't have started in the first place. They shouldn't have continued, but they have to be corrected now.
Thanks, everybody. How will your plan affect local governments? I mean, it's about the local people, the ones here. You know, there's a lot of reduction in government that you're talking about. How will that affect local entities?
Well, look, I think good news, bad news. Everybody knows right now this nation, this state, local governments are in a financial crunch. People know because it's also true in their own lives, right? They're around their kitchen table, they have budget issues. And they know around the kitchen table they had to make adjustments. So government has to do what they did around their kitchen table. Literally. You have to make those adjustments. Frankly, they made it before the government did. And the government has actually been slow to correct. That's what we're going through now. I believe this is something that should have been done anyway, and I believe it's actually in the long run going to be good for the state because this is really all about growing the economy and getting businesses to come here and grow and stay. And if we can show businesses that we actually have our own economic house in order, It's going to make us more competitive economically, and that's a good thing.
Gaining trust
MPA
is,
tax is a hot issue locally. A lot of businesses say they can't be profitable when they're paying this MPA tax. And I'm wondering what your stance is on that, if that's something that you're going to give up.
Look, it is a very onerous tax. It's not just in this area. People are complaining about it on Long Island, the entire metropolitan region. I said from the beginning, I understand the need to finance the system. If we can find a better way to do it, I'm open.
Does mandate relief have to be simultaneous with property tax caps?
You have to be doing both, no doubt about it. You have to, I believe, what a property tax cap says is you can't increase taxes by more than the rate of inflation or 2%. It is imposing fiscal discipline. Why? Because without fiscal discipline, the governments, I believe, will just continue to raise taxes. Why do I believe that? Because they have, year after year, for many, many years. People then say, well, you can't restrict the growth of taxes unless you restrict the state mandates, which is the number of activities that the state says the local governments have to perform. There is truth in that. So you have to do both. Reduce the number of mandates from the state, but also, and I want the local governments to understand, they can't keep raising taxes the way they have been. We have the highest property taxes in the nation, and people can't afford to stay in their homes. This is not an abstract concept. I have people come up to me all day long who say, I can't afford the property tax. I can pay the mortgage, but I can't pay the property tax. And you're forcing people out of their homes. It's even crueler in some circumstances. People can't afford to stay in the house because they can't afford to pay the property tax. They can't sell the house because the value is depressed, and they can't sell the house for a value that pays off the mortgage. So people are in a terrible situation.
Governor, can we see a
regaining
shutdown?
trust, regaining trust of the people is a long-term process. Do you think that succeeding and getting people to work together is the most important element for people to really believe that there's going to be change?
It's a good question. I think building trust is just as you said. It is a long-term process, especially in this circumstance, because people have seen their trust erode over many years in Albany. So it's not going to be enough just to say, it's a new day, trust us again. You're going to have to prove it, you're going to have to demonstrate it, and it's going to take time. I think we can start that now. I hope to start it. I believe I have already started it. But it's going to take time, and little by little, I think we'll build back the trust.
Governor, can we see a shutdown if the budget isn't passed on time?
Look, is it possible? Yes. Is it desirable? No. Is it probable? In my opinion, no. I think it's going to be a very difficult budget because the numbers are difficult, because it's a difficult reality, but I don't believe there'll be a shutdown.
Are delayed aid payments a possibility?
Meaning what?
Education in funding.
Well, the question now really isn't about the delay of the payment. It's about the size of the payment. And are reductions possible? Yes.
What did you say to the Assembly Democrats yesterday that pushed you on the millionaires tax? And they thought
I
that
said, did you
should-
read the Post or the news?
So what did they answer?
They wouldn't answer? I don't support new taxes. That's my position. Some of them do support new taxes, and that's a difference of opinion.
Governor, you mentioned marriage equality, which was rather refreshing to see a progressive issue brought up like that. Is there anything you can do and talk to anyone on the Republican side? Senator Tom DeWayne said he's going to bring it before the floor in June. Is there anything that you know that you can help push this along?
I am going to do everything I can do to pass marriage equality.
Bringing it back to new taxes, are there going to be adjustments in current taxes that may make up for the lack of new taxes? Are we going to see
Are you a
inflation?
politician or what? Will there be adjustments in current taxes to make up? You mean, will we raise current taxes and say it's just raising a current tax and not a new tax? Even I didn't think of that. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is that a no?
That's a no. That would be a new tax. Thanks, guys.